Good day, learners. My name is Nuhu Bako Fus. You are welcome to government class. And today, by God's grace, we shall be discussing a topic, military rule in Nigeria. Military rule in Nigeria. In the early hours of January 15, 1966, Nigeria witnessed the first military coup led by Major Chukwuma Eziogu Kaduna and other majors in the military. It was a bloody military intervention in the political history of Nigeria. Some key political leaders were killed. Example, the Prime Minister, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, S.L. Akintola, the Premier of the Western Region, Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Premier of the Northern Region, popularly known as Sardauna of Sokoto, the Minister of Finance, Chief Okoti Ebo, and other top-ranking officers in the armed forces of the Northern and the Western region were killed. In the first place, what is coup? A coup is a quick and brilliant, successful act. And by extension, it is the taking over of another group by another. And also, a coup can be seen as or defined as the seizure of power by the military through the use of arms. Now, in the early hours of 1966, Nigeria witnessed a bloody military coup, which of course, some prominent Nigerians were killed. And this coup was described as the ever coup or the coup ever had in the history of Nigeria, because prominent people were killed. And the coup also was described as Igbo coups. Why? Because most participants in the coup were Igbos, and none of the Igbo military personnel or politician was killed in the coup. It was purely, the other part of the country, and none of the Igbos was involved. And that is why it was described as an Igbo coup. Now, later, Major General Aguiyi-Ironsi came into the scene to take over the mantle of leadership of the country. His tenure was, however, short-lived. The coup was organized. Lo and behold, Major General Aguiyi-Ironsi just walked into the scene, took over power, and began to rule, though he did not stay long in the office because his system of administration was characterized with a lot of sectionalism, tribalism, and he was not involving people from the other two regions of the country. And for that, he was short-lived. He did not last long in the office because of a lot of accusation by other military personnel and by Nigerians. A counter-coup was staged on 29 July 1966. Aguiyi-Ironsi was toppled and killed. Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon took over the political leadership of the country. Also, there was a counter-coup that was organized on the 29th July, as mentioned, 1966. Aguiyi-Ironsi was toppled and he was killed. And Yakubu Gowon too took over the mantle of leadership from Aguiyi-Ironsi and continued to rule. Now, the administration of Yakubu Gowon too was seen by many Nigerians and also the military personnel as a regime that was full of embezzlement, mismanagement of funds, and also extravagant because of the income of the crude oil. Then Nigeria had a lot of money from the crude oil. So the president, Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, later general, was extravagant. And the economy of the country was dropping. And there was this fear by his successor and most Nigerians that if Yakubu Gowon should continue, the economy of Nigeria will be down. General Yakubu Gowon was toppled by Brigadier Murtala Mohammed, later general, through another coup while attending Organization of African Union meeting in Kampala, the capital of Uganda. Now, General Murtala Mohammed was assassinated in an abortive coup, later by Lieutenant Colonel Dimkat Sukar Buka on February 13, 1976. The unsuccessful coup and the assassination of General Murtala Mohammed brought in his second in command, General Olusegun Obasanjo, into office. So, while General Murtala was toppled, his second in command now came into power, General Olusegun Obasanjo. And General Olusegun Obasanjo continued with General Murtala policies, because Murtala had good policies on ground, and he had the intention of handing over power to a democratic civilian government after his tenure. So after the assassination of General Murtala Mohammed in his vehicle with his car in Lagos, General Obasanjo took over power and followed his policies. And General Olusegun Obasanjo kept to his promise, rule, and later on handed over power on the 1st October 1979 to a democratic elected civilian government. And that, brings us to the Second Republic in 1979 to 1983. And it will interest you to note that during the Prime Minister, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, that was the First Republic. And Shagari regime was the Second Republic. Now, on December 31st, 1983, the democratically elected government, through a military coup, was sacked out of power by Major General Muhammadu Buhari-led junta. Now, Nigerians were so happy because the government was in the hand of a civilian, and the regime was a democratic system of administration in which many thought the freedom and rights of individuals would be benefited. But lo and behold, on the 31st of December, there was a coup staged by Major General Muhammadu Buhari, and it was described as a led junta. And the dictionary meaning of a junta is a dictatorial system of administration. So in most cases, all military regimes are dictatorial or autocratic, because military dictates, they give order and also command, and nobody has the right to question them or to query them. It's just they have a say that says obey before complain, and that is why it was described as led junta. So it was a dictatorial system of administration during Buhari's regime, that is between 1983 to 1985. He stayed 2 years in office. Now, also, General Muhammadu Buhari was overthrown on August 27, 1985, in another military coup described as a palace coup by his former chief of army staff, Major General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, to power. Subsequently made himself president of the Nigeria, abandoning the title of the head of state associated with the military rule. So General Muhammadu Buhari, took over power from General from the civilian government, that is Alhaji Shehu Shagari, from a democratic elected government. Now, Babangida organized his coup, and Babangida's coup was described as a palace coup. What does that mean? A palace coup means Babangida was a member in the Supreme Military Council of the Army. He is part and parcel of the government. They are the one ruling, but at the same time, he turned against the leadership and waged a coup against the president. And he's part and parcel of the government. And he stepped out, betrayed the government, and organized a coup. That is why it was described as a palace coup, because all of them were in the same palace, ruling or governing the country. He now, went out and betrayed them and organized or staged or waged a coup and toppled, the government. That is why it was described as a palace coup. And for the first time in the history of Nigeria, Babangida abandoned the title head of state and opted for president. Why? During Babangida's regime, Babangida gave Nigerians a picture that his administration will be democratic and there will be legitimacy. He gave the picture to Nigerians that there will be freedom and they will enjoy their freedoms or their rights as enshrined in the Constitution. But later on, there was a lot of arrest and detention without trial. There was hardship in the country, and more so, the economy of the country is just going down, and people are facing a lot of crisis. So his regime was even worse than that of Buhari. Buhari regime that was seen as a system of administration that was full of brutality of the civilian by the military. When Babangida came to power, the same thing, people thought there would be, relief. But before, people knew there was hardship and difficulties. And for that, General Babangida was ruling and continued to rule. And before you know it, because of the tension and the pressure by the citizen in the country, General Babangida was forced to retire from army after stepping aside in 1993 with an interim government, Chief Ernest Shonikon, as the head of state. So when Babangida retired and stepped out of office, there was an interim government by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Chief Ernest Shonikon was the interim head of state of Nigeria. He was ruling, but after a while, Lieutenant General Sani Abacha, later general, also sacked the interim government and assumed the military head of state of Nigeria on November 17, 1993. General Abacha died on the 8th of June, 1998, and was succeeded by General Abdulsalam Abubakar, who successfully handed over power to a new democratically elected president, retired General Olusegun Obasanjo, under People's Democratic Party, PDP, on the 29th of May, 1999. That is the Third Republic. Now, Lieutenant General Sani Abacha was watching. There was pressure and tension in the country. General Sani Abacha walked into the office and sacked the interim government and took over the mantle of leadership from Chief Ernest Shonikon. And General Sani Abacha tried his best, but then there was a lot of complaint with pressure, tension, because there was arrest and detention without trial. Many were disappeared, and you dare not challenge or question his regime. As we mentioned earlier, because all military government are dictatorial system of administration, and they respect their hierarchy and they obey before complaint. So during Abacha's regime, you dare not question or you dare not challenge his system of administration. By so doing, Abacha continued to rule, but lo and behold, he died. And when Abacha died, he was succeeded by General Abdulsalam Abubakar. And General Abdulsalam kept to the promise that has been lingering for a long time. He worked everything fine within the shortest possible time. An election was conducted. And he successfully handed over power to a democratic democratically elected government, civilian government, to retired General Olusegun Obasanjo on the 29th of May, 1999. And that brings us to the end of military regime. There were attempted coup in Nigeria. The first one, Major General Mamman Vasa, December 1985. And secondly, Major Gideon Oka, April 22nd, 1990. And Lieutenant General Oladipo Dia, December 21st, 1997. So this is the chronology of the military rule in Nigeria, from General Aguiyi-Ironsi to General Sani Abacha. Characteristics of military rule in Nigeria. Number one, hierarchical and centralized. Military regime or rule is highly hierarchical and is centralized. They follow hierarchy from general, brigadier general, lieutenant general, or from rank and file, last corporal, second corporal, sergeant, and the like. They follow hierarchy. They respect hierarchy, and it is highly centralized. What is it to be centralized? That is, the president or the person in power with few individuals that are ruling always rule, they govern the people. The power is not decentralized to the subordinate unit of government or to the subordinate unit or the component unit of the government. The power is not decentralized. Rather, the power is centralized. That is, the power is limited to the president and few individuals. That is highly centralized. It's not decentralized as we have it in a democratic system of government. Now, dictatorial form of government. Military regime is a regime that is highly dictatorial. The head of state dictates to the citizen, whether they like it or not, whether it goes well with them or not. Military system of administration is highly dictatorial. They give order, they are very strict, and once an order is given, you cannot question, query, or challenge, or rather criticize. Thirdly, rule with decrees. Military system of administration rule with decrees. They don't use constitution, or rather they use constitution but not as in a democratic system. Rather they use decrees, and decrees are laws that are formed by the military to suit their interests at that very particular moment while on seat. Now, absent of all forms of opposition, military rule don't take opposition. There is nothing like oppositional party, individual or group criticism is not welcome in military system of government. So any form of opposition is not welcome in military regime. There is also fusion of legislative and executive arms of government. That is, the legislative arms of government and the executive arms of government are merged together. They are merged together. Instead of operating independently, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary arms of government are supposed to operate independently as written or as enshrined in the Constitution. But under military regime, it is merged, and they work or function, as one. Involvement of civilian. Military rule involves civilian in their administration. Mostly the civilian, do the work in military regime. The military are always heading. The president is heading, and some majors, lieutenants and captains were heading state. But the real formulation and implementation of the policy all civil servant secretariat were occupied by civil servants. Now, the use of coercion in the implementation of policies, that is, the policies made by the military, citizens were forced to comply, both ways, whether it is good or bad. Citizens were forced to comply to all the policies written or formed by the military. And also, absence of election. Under military rule, there is no election completely. But when they are about stepping down, they can organize all the processes and everything. An election can be conducted in order to hand over power, just as General Abdul Salam did, and also General Olusegun Obasanjo did during Shagari's regime. But during their time or tenure once in office, no election. Now, closure of the country's border, sea and airport when military come to power. Once military take over power, that's what we call a martial music. So first, the martial music will go on air, tele, and before you know it, there will be a broadcast. And the person making the broadcast will also advise and encourage citizens to be calm and compose. And at the same time, he will announce that all the country borders, sea and airport remain closed until further notice. After they settle in office, they will now open all the sea and the airport. Suspension and modification of some section of the Constitution to be in line with the military rule. Once in power, the military suspend and also modify some section in the Constitution to suit their interest or their ambition while on seat. So once military are on power, they suspend the Constitution. And if at all there are places or areas of interest, they modify it to suit their interest while on seat. Now, we have come to the end of the lesson, but before I leave, I have an assignment for you. Question 1, briefly explain the military rule in Nigeria from 1966 to 1993. I repeat, briefly explain military rule in Nigeria from 1966 to 1993. And question 2, state 6 characteristics of military rule. State 6 characteristics of military rule. In case you have any question or more explanation, or you want me to go through your assignment, you can WhatsApp me through this number, 0802-354-7912. I repeat, 0802-354-7912. Stay home, stay safe. Coronavirus is real. Thank you and God bless.